Hi, everybody, and welcome. Thanks so much for joining. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about SafetyHQ. Just one moment while we're waiting for the rest of the participants to join here. So just hang tight, and we'll be getting going shortly. Thanks so much. Alrighty, now that we are at the top of the hour, I appreciate everybody stopping in to join and learn a little bit more about SafetyHQ today. So, my name is Eric Vittardi. Thanks so much for joining, taking some time either over your lunch hour, early morning, what time it may be for you, wherever you're at. Let's see. So, this is me. Here's some contact information. We will touch base here in a little bit on this after the presentation. But what's most important today is some of the content that we're going to be reviewing, right? So what you guys all came here today to see is a little bit more about some best practices and the feature set related to SafetyHQ. So SafetyHQ's got quite a bit. There's a bunch that we can do in as far as inspections, JHAs, JSAs, Toolbox talks, certification tracking management, incident tracking, document storage, equipment management, and a whole lot more. So we're just going to touch on a few basics today. We're hoping that some of the items that we discuss here today are going to apply whether or not you choose to use SafetyHQ or not. If you got maybe some manual processes throughout your office or you're using another safety program, we'll try and hint on as many of those as we can, kind of talk some best practices or at least give you some ideas on how you can improve some items. But we will be using SafetyHQ as an example in a lot of these ways so that we can get started and kind of focus in on some of those areas from there too. But without further ado, let's go ahead and pull SafetyHQ up. So SafetyHQ, right? I guess the first process that everybody tells me, we've been doing this for a little bit now, is SafetyHQ is going to change our business, right? Hey, I wish we had something like this so that we can make sure, we're tracking and managing safety items appropriately, that we're getting all of these things done. But I guess first and foremost, before we even start showing any features and products here, the most important part of SafetyHQ is not the software itself, it's the people around it, right? You got to make sure that you have a team, that you have a culture, and that you have processes organized so that you guys can effectively manage safety in your building, outside your building, in the field, and then make sure that people are being held accountable, that we're following up on these tasks, and that it's a priority within the building, right? You may say, if you designate it to one person to handle and say, hey, so-and-so does safety and I don't have to think about it. That's generally not the right approach, right? We see those folks get siloed, even though they may have an extremely powerful tool like SafetyHQ. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have a lot of success in the field if, the team that you have out there, knows that it may not be a priority or knows that, hey, if I fill out this form, maybe if you're on a paper process right now and you're doing a paper toolbox talk, but you don't actually collect the toolbox talks, they're going to know it's not important. They're not going to focus in on the energy. If it comes down to, completing JHAs, completing inspections, if you aren't collecting those, if you aren't incentivizing your team to complete them, or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you just want to follow up and make sure that they're getting those done and, correcting non-compliance. Those are all the first steps as far as putting together a really nice health and safety program. It's the processes, it's the emphasis, and it's the culture around that. So if you've done a lot of those things, if you're saying, Eric, yeah, right now as a business, we incentivize, we give a gift card if you've completed, X amount of safety tasks, or, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe, hey, we hold guys accountable if they are not completing their toolbox talks or items like that. But regardless of how you do it, step number one is making sure those get completed. Like I said, if those items get lost on the floorboards, they get crumpled up, whatever, they're going to know it's not important, and they're not going to necessarily focus in on A, completing the safety items, and B, being safe out in the field. So assuming you've gotten some of those items completed, right? You've put together a nice safety culture, you've talked with the team. The second piece, before there's one more before we get into the features, is organizing and tracking this, right? Now that's something that SafetyHQ does a fantastic job of. We're going to make this really easy to find, easy to review, easy to access, whether it be in the field or in the office. Completed safety items, right? You can do all of those items. You can collect the toolbox talks. You can incentivize the team. You can do whatever it may be. You can put a real strong emphasis on safety culture. But if you're keeping these records and you can't access them on a timely basis, whether it be OSHA's on the site reviewing these, maybe somebody has a near miss, maybe somebody has an accident, if it's SDSs and you don't have access to those, if it's in a big binder and you can't find them, all of those things don't really make that safety program real in a lot of ways, right? It's a lot of really nice ideas, but it's not useful and accessible information. What really makes a safety program start from ideas and focus to really being a robust difference-making agenda is the ability to access this information and use data regarding your safety program to not only improve. Unfortunately, sometimes it's going to be to cover your behind if you get into an issue or an incident, or if somebody's doing something. There's a whole bunch of unpredictable circumstances that can result in this, but as a whole, it's important to keep this accessible so that we can review this whenever needed. But let's jump in. Let's learn a little bit more about what SafetyHQ can do, how we can do some of these things, how we can establish a well-organized record keeping, how we can, organize and manage these things on a daily basis, and how we can continually improve by, collecting data and utilizing some information that we're getting back from our field. Number one is having something that's accessible in the field, right? And that may be paper for your solution right now. That's not to say, whatever you're using right now may not be the best case scenario. If you're real small and paper is really timely, the guys are back in and out of the office, great. That's not really typical in a lot of the businesses that we talk with. They're working at different sites, they're handling these items, they don't, the organization piece gets lost. Where SafetyHQ comes in is the ability to handle these items in a mobile platform, right? So you'll see my screen right now. This is SafetyHQ as a whole. Let me confirm that this is my screen. Yep. You'll see SafetyHQ. This is the view that we would see from a tablet or a laptop if we were there, right? However, if we're on a mobile device, it's going to look something like this, right? So very similar, a lot of what we were expecting, in that mobile experience as well. So making it accessible, allowing the team to access, review these things as needed, extremely critical. Having those forms, having those items within arm's reach really allows them to not only complete these faster, but actually get them completed. So that's step number one. We have a mobile solution. SafetyHQ is a progressive web app. So this can be used in offline mode. This can be used in, in areas where you have internet and cell service where it's a little bit more automatic. If you're using SafetyHQ in offline mode, this will sync up automatically once you get back to an area with cell service too. So really nice. Doesn't stop you from doing what you need to do out there in the field. What I like to start with would be Toolbox Talks, right? This is one of the, if not the most universal, safety processes that companies go through. However you're doing your Toolbox Talks right now, it's about getting organization. Teams say, hey, we do once a week, but sometimes it's Mondays, sometimes it's Thursdays, whatever. That's the first step in things kind of falling apart, right? If there's teams that can do it, don't get me wrong, but having it be part of the routine is critical. Maybe not having the content be routine. We want the content to be new, updated, keep the team engaged every time they review it. But having that as a routine for them to sit down, put safety in the forefront and discuss some items is key. So let's go ahead and say, hey, I want to review a safety topic today. I want to pick safe setup of heavy equipment. In SafetyHQ, we have 150 topics. You can add your own. These can be used in English and in Spanish. So regardless of your employee's language preference, we have some ability to accommodate the staff no matter what. But let's go ahead and say, hey, we've selected safe setup of heavy equipment. The first step is, selecting an appropriate topic that's going to be relevant to the team. This is a good place where I see people add in content in SafetyHQ to say, hey, we had a near miss a couple of weeks ago. This is a really valuable learning experience for the team. Luckily, we avoided major issues or what have you, but because we have that content right here, or we just had an incident, it'll be relevant to the team, keep them engaged, and we can learn from that before we run into an issue like this again. In this case, I don't have one of those just top of mind, but we'll use the safe setup of heavy equipment. We can share this out. I hit that simple share icon on the left-hand side. I can share this with my different roles throughout the company, customizable to whatever may be best. But in this case, I'll go ahead and say I want this to send to foremen and crew leaders either immediately, or maybe I'll schedule this out in advance and say, hey, Monday morning, we want to talk about this. And that seems to be a really effective time for a lot of companies that we discuss with, our clients, our prospects. Monday seems to be the best time. Some people like Wednesdays, whatever. But keeping that routine, keeping that organization really does make a difference. But we'll go ahead, we'll select a scheduled time and date. Great. That's now going to go out to my foreman and my crew leaders at the time and date we scheduled. Now in SafetyHQ specifically, maybe you don't have a lot of time, you can schedule out a whole bunch of Toolbox Talks as often as you want, right? So if I want to go ahead and schedule my next one for the following week and I want to schedule out a whole month, I certainly can do that. What makes SafetyHQ nice and effective is they will get that Toolbox Talk at the date and time that you've selected. They'll get a notification right here within their inbox. They'll get a little one. I scheduled mine off a week from now, so we won't see that just yet. But they'll also get a corresponding email. Both take them directly to this page where all they have to do is hit this big yellow button. Big yellow button, really easy, can't miss it. In this case, we also want to select a project. Now this is going to depend, right? When we talk about organizing your safety documents, everyone's work is a little bit different. If you're doing a lot of service work, you're getting in and out of locations pretty quickly, and the project isn't as important. SafetyHQ is flexible where we don't have to include that. If it's a requirement and everything is project or job driven for your business, that is a key element so we can organize and manage it within SafetyHQ. But even if you're using another solution, determine what the key indicator is going to be for you, whether it's by project, whether it's by foreman, whether it's chronological, what have you. But I'll go ahead, I'll select that project. I've discussed my Toolbox Talk with the team. I've signed off on this as the foreman. We have some flexibility within SafetyHQ to also do this by individual as well. And then we can add as many employees as we need here, right? So luckily with SafetyHQ, we can use this adaptive search. This will pull up all my related employees, regardless of how many employees I got there on the field. And we'll sign up here and say that it was just me, Josh, and Dylan, but we discussed this for the day and they signed off. So just like that in SafetyHQ, we've completed a really strong record, right? So we can review that at any time. We've made it easy and accessible for the team to go in here and complete a safety activity. So, as they walk out of there that Monday morning or whatever it is, safety's top of mind. They're getting continuing education to stay on top of the tests they need. But in the same time, that item that I just completed is automatically saved here within the cloud. So I can go here, review this at any time. Great, I have all the items I need. I forgot to mention if we want to take a photo of the group or something, we could. And then we also have the ability, let's see what screen this shows up on, perfect. We also have the ability to create a nice PDF document of this as well, right? And this would be customized with, your name, your logo, all of those items. Whether you're doing something like this now, I can guarantee you as you continue to expand and grow, you're going to be required to provide some of this information, whether it be to the GC, if you are the GC, maybe to the customer, or maybe keep it for your records. But in order to win some maybe more complex, maybe not even more complex jobs, but just different jobs, maybe local jobs, government jobs, things like that, you're going to have some more requirements to provide this information and show that you're completing them. What makes SafetyHQ really nice is not only is this automatically saved here, creates a nice professional PDF, I can select a few of these items if I want, PDF them, share them at one time. But as I was just showing here too, we can organize this information, right? If I want to see all my Toolbox talks related to this AMD bridge project, maybe for the month of June so far, I can do that. Now, I don't know if I have any. I don't know which job I pick in here for the most part. Great, I do. Here's a couple. It just so happens to be one of the ones I just did. That's going to give me all the information at a moment's notice. And this is extremely critical if you need to provide this information in case of workers' comp, OSHA visit, what have you. And it goes a long way to have this information relevant and readily prepared, right? So being able to provide this to the team or whoever needs it goes a long way in showing that you care about safety and that you are organized and on top of your safety practices as well. So that's one item. That's a quick example to show you how Toolbox talks are completed. Another piece is when we talk about follow-up and organization throughout your safety program, right? This is a really nice area where we can track and manage how the team's doing. So in here, I have a rule set up that my administrators are to complete a Toolbox talk once a week. Maybe I want my foreman completing them on a different, time basis or whatever. We can set that up, check different date ranges, use our filters. I have a lot of sample data in here, so you guys would be performing this at a much higher clip, I'm sure. But if I go ahead and select myself, you can see, great, here's the dates in which I've completed them. If I want to pick a couple of individuals, maybe Frank and Daryl, to remind them that, hey, you need to complete your Toolbox talk, I can. Or I can select any individual that has not yet met my requirement. I can notify them. And if I really they need a little bit more of a kick in the rear here, I can include a manager here as well too. Finally, especially for SafetyHQ, this is a really nice feature that our clients use quite a bit, especially if you're doing some kind of incentive program or things like that. You can track and monitor the progress over a larger period of time. While we have flexibility for this date range, this is a really nice and easy way to track and say, hey, he's done 5 this week and 2 this week and whatever. Here's a week in which he missed, right? So you can review that as needed. Really helps you stay on top of the team and monitor these. So that way, it's hard to say, especially if you're waiting and the team doesn't get into the office all the time, takes a couple of weeks to get back to you. You don't know if those are getting completed until it's too late. So the nice piece is you have real up to the minute information letting you know who's completed what and when. Now, what's really nice about SafetyHQ in particular is that we can use that same reporting for any of our custom forms, right? So if I do regular JHAs, that reporting is going to look, feel, and act the very same way. But the difference being is I can set up a different rule. So you see, previous administrators completing 1 Toolbox talk per week. Under the JHA, we're completing 1 every day. Same with organizing and monitoring this on the side. I can pull this up by project, by date range, whatever I might need here too. So really makes it accessible, makes it really easy for the team to review these items as needed. But let's jump in and take a look at these forms as a whole, right? So this is one of the biggest complaints that we hear out in the industry is, there's just so many forms. The team doesn't know what they need to fill out on a daily basis. And when they do, the forms are really lengthy and the data that we get back is not particularly strong because, they just get overwhelmed by the form, or they get, form fill exhaustion, or they get bored, or what have you. We can keep these nice and consolidated. We can fully customize any of these forms as part of your subscription. So we can include those if you got a particular JHA format that the team's already used to. Perfect. Send it to us. That's included. We'll make sure we get that built in here, along with all the benefits that you see from a custom form in SafetyHQ. But I guess step number one is making those forms adaptive, right? So I have a quick accident report, and I think this one shows as an example pretty well, because these are typically high stress moments, right? I'm involved in an accident. I don't know what to do. If you hand somebody a 10-page piece of paper, the information and the data that you get back is not going to be good, especially after they just had, a high stress incident. In this case, if it's property damage, we don't see much of a change. If it's vehicle related, okay, let's ask them some more questions related to the vehicle. Maybe this involved 2 vehicles. Okay, let's get some more information on those vehicles. So it's just giving us the information that's relevant to the person filling out the form at that time. We have all of our options in here, but at the same time, as they fill out this form, it's changing and adapting based on the results that they're putting in. This also is, really key when we get to something like the JHA. I'll go ahead and pick another project as an example. Based on the tasks that I select, I'm going to just pick these 2. It's going to only show me the related hazard types. So again, when we talk about lengthy forms, we want to make this easy for the team to fill out so that they can get these items completed as soon as possible and keep them focused on the safety items that we want to be top of mind for them as they go. We'll pick fall protection and environmental just as some quick examples. You'll see it's going to show me fall protection hazards and environmental hazards as well. Now mine is going to be really short just because I'm demoing it here briefly, but we do have a lot of really good templates for you to work off of as well if you don't have a custom form that you need. But you'll see now on my controls page, we're only seeing items related to those hazards that I selected on the last page. We're not asking them to write a paragraph of a whole bunch of items. We're not asking them to go through 4 pages of potential controls. They just select what's relevant for them. And then if you want them to put in like an other area, do some kind of signature items in here as well, we can too. So there's different ways to keep the team engaged, but more importantly, we're keeping them focused on the safety items that are going to impact them for this day or this task. Now from there, if I was on my phone, this would go right to my camera or my camera roll. I'm using my laptop right now, so we're going to have to use one of these stock images as an example. But they can go ahead, snap a quick photo on the site. These photos can be used in almost all of our forms, all throughout the software. We can point out particular hazards. I don't know, some of these rewrite and look capped. I don't know. We're picking some examples here just to go. We can kind of point out whatever. You can see we got a lot of items in here. Maybe, I don't know, something over here too. Great. So we're getting, a richer data, a richer experience showing that information coming back. And then again, we can sign off on this just like we did before, showing the team how that can get completed. So great, JHA is completed. You don't have to worry about collecting that paperwork, what have you. It's all in here. Now, if you're not using a software, if you're not using something like SafetyHQ, one of my recommendations would be have this as a regular submission for the paperwork. You can't do it as, hey, do it, next time you're in the office, whatever. I've seen people send out Toolbox talks with pay stubs. I've seen people come pick up their pay stubs. And then to get your pay stubs, you got to submit all of your JHAs and your Toolbox talks for the time being. You can't do it ad hoc. You got to make sure that it's on a regular basis. If you don't have a tool like this, you got to make sure that they're, every Friday, every other Friday, make sure I get all of your forms. Now you're going to be behind. You're not going to be able to use that to make decisions and be proactive, but at least you'll stay on top of that as a team. Another example I like to show, and there's things that we can do with like equipment tracking, right? You inspect a piece of equipment, we can send an automatic notification off to the mechanic if there's an issue, or we can take photos and we can regularly track our equipment maintenance schedules to see what's overdue, what hasn't been completed. We can assign equipment to individuals or jobs to make sure that they're completing their regular inspections on these items. So we can do all those things. We can also tie to what we call corrective actions, which I'll show you in a little bit. But as a whole, I think you guys will get a pretty good feel by just seeing this job site safety evaluation. Now, this job site safety evaluation is, in my example, a quick site walkthrough. This is an audit, behavioral-based, safety evaluation, what have you. So I can go through, I can review a lot of these items, yes, no, maybe. I can jump to certain sections. Maybe I see a fall protection related item that I want to address. Great. I can navigate quickly without, fumbling through my paper. These forms as a whole, like I showed you before, are all adaptive. So I pick safety hazards. Okay. We're, safety harnesses and shock absorbing lanyards. Now we want some more questions because you're using those. They're not relevant for the job. We don't want to ask those questions. So again, keeping the form nice and easy to navigate for the team. But let's say you run into an issue. This is the next biggest piece that I see from safety managers, directors, companies that we work with all the time. Is it's one thing to note all of the safety, but I've even noticed a lot of companies that are reluctant to track and monitor and make note of these incidents because they're not confident that they can correct them in a timely manner. In order to do so, we need to make sure we have the logistics and organization necessary to get people that can correct situations, the information that they need, and then we get feedback showing that it's been completed. That's a lot of words, but what does that really mean? In this case, I was using an example because this is pretty common. First aid kit's not on the site. We select no. Through SafetyHQ, we can add a corrective action. We add this corrective action to say, hey, first aid kit's not on the site. This will pre-populate some suggestions here. Maybe I also want to tag this to housekeeping, so that for our record keeping and things like that. I want to assign this to Paul. Maybe he's the foreman or project manager on the site. He's going to go ahead and grab that. And then Tom is maybe the safety director or whomever it may be. Maybe I want to include myself in here as well. Perfect. I can take a photo of the circumstance. I can leave it open. If I address the situation on the spot, I can hit completed. Or most commonly, we'll say, hey, we'll assign this out and say, hey, we need to have that, in this example, first aid kit on the site by tomorrow. Perfect. I can now continue on with my inspection, complete the activities that I need to complete. But at the same time, the team is going to get the notifications letting them know that they need to get that first aid kit. They need to complete that corrective action. It's now been assigned to them. Again, these are fully customizable. We can spend all day looking through forms. We can use these for daily reports. We can use these for, infractions of employees. The possibilities are really endless when it comes from the form perspective. But as we go away from that, let's see that corrective action. And let's see where that item would have went, right? So if I had completed that form, this would have sent Tom and all of them a notification within the application and in their email, letting them know that they've been assigned a corrective action. So I haven't been assigned one in a little bit. This is just a certification notice, but I get a little notification here. I select it. It takes me right to the corrective action and, maybe in question here. I can review it. I can mark it as completed. I can add photos. I can add notes. I can do whatever. But the more powerful part of this tool is from this view right here, I can see all of the assigned and open corrective actions. So maybe this is all of our items that are outstanding throughout our different projects. Maybe I want to do that by project. If I'm a mechanic, maybe I want to see all the corrective actions that have come from equipment inspections. I can do that too. So we can really narrow this into all of the details that we need, whether it be an employee leaving and you want to address all their tasks, if you want to take on the high priority items first. You have a view of all of your safety concerns, all the corrective action items that need to be completed across your sites, all in one place, all up to the minute on information. On top of that, we also have some reporting. Now I'm not actually using this in the field every day, so my data is a little bit goofy. But from here, you can imagine how we can see different deficiencies over a time period. We can go ahead and review trends, leading indicators to let us know, hey, we've had a lot of issues related to fall protection lately. Maybe we need to gear our toolbox towards it, or maybe we need to, update our PPE stance or something along those lines. And then again, all of this visual reporting can also be filtered and reviewed by all of these key identifiers that we have on the right side. So the data is at your fingertips to not only, track and monitor what has happened, but to be proactive in the future so that we can avoid issues going forward. Now that's quite a bit. Let's go to something a little simpler here, and that's on our SDS area. Now this is another item that I see a lot of companies struggling with. It's making these SDSs readily available for the team, right? So we have a pretty lengthy database, over 1 million records. You can go ahead and see, the counts that we have for each item. But whether it's a big binder that you got there or, something along those lines, the key here is we can search. You'll see, based on what I'm putting in, my results are going to change. And I can do this by product. Like if I pull up this WD-40, great, it's going to show me my SDS. I can do this by manufacturer. I can do this by keyword, a lot of items here. And even if I run into an issue that, maybe we don't have a product or manufacturer that you're looking for, simply request it. We will reach out to that manufacturer and source that product in here for you as well. So another key, from an SDS perspective, is making this accessible to the team. It doesn't do you any good if it's in a binder, in the office and the team can't access it. If you have a product like this, great, fantastic. You've eliminated a huge, burden of stress and items in there. However, if you don't, make that item, make that binder readily accessible. Make sure the team knows where it's at on the project site. Make sure they point out, maybe bookmark even a few of the most commonly used products or chemicals that you're going to be addressing. So that way, if something does happen, the team can get to them, easily and, without adding any more stress to the situation as is. But that's SDS is pretty straightforward. We'll keep working down the line here, and I'll show you a little bit more about what SafetyHQ has to offer. We also have this lessons and certification solution, right? Lessons and certifications, pretty straightforward as a whole, right? This is an area for us to continue to train. If you have trainings, we can include those into the program for you as well. Send them over. If it's a PowerPoint, if it's a video, what have you. Assign this out to individuals. Maybe this is your new hire training, new hire orientation. Maybe it's some onboarding questions. Maybe it's an annual safety training or review. Assign those out, require them to take a quiz, get those completed, and that will automatically, at least in SafetyHQ, automatically track in our certifications area. So this is another item, right? When we talk about continuing education, it's beyond the toolbox talks. A lot of this also includes certification tracking. It's great if you do a safety meeting once a year and you keep everybody up to date on your safety manual and your processes, but how do you know who's been doing this and what? A big spreadsheet works okay, not accessible in the field, doesn't help you necessarily maintain that as a whole. What we allow you to do here in SafetyHQ is not only can I review items to say, hey, let's see who's expiring in the near future or who is expired. Maybe I want to grab anyone who, for this job, we need a specific, a unique ladder power line awareness, and we need first aid CPR. Perfect. Let's pull up the whole list of employees that have that. Maybe I'm training on both these items, and I want, anybody who's going to expire on these in the near future as well. You can grab all that information really easily, keep your team up to date. You can go ahead and include cards for the team. So again, I know they say they should have them. Hey, I have this in my wallet, but then OSHA comes on site and comes to review, should so-and-so be driving that forklift, whatever. You have the backup right here letting you know that right here it's accessible and we can review that. And then we can also do some other things too. We can produce, training certificates. You can review all of Bill's certifications right here. We can share it with a QR code, we can email it off, we can produce a certificate, all of those items. We can do this the other way around too. We're showing you Bill, but we can produce certificates with, hey, here's everybody on that job, and here's all their different training. So a lot of different options that we can get into from that side. Now, when we're talking about certifications, one of the newer features that we've added in the SafetyHQ, beyond just tracking and updating those items that come from here, is our automatic notifications. So we can go ahead and set this up. Maybe each division we want to notify somebody different, but either way, we're setting up automatic notifications to let you know who's going to expire in the near future. So in this case, every month, look out 100 days in the system and tell me who's going to expire. We can stay on top of that to help our team stay in the loop and make sure we're ready to work any job that we need. Now, the big question comes is, hey, Eric, what if my team, what if I trust them to manage some of these things themselves? Great, you're doing fantastic. Kudos to you. There's a lot of ways that we can do that as well. In SafetyHQ, we have different permissions. We have a little bit of a different licensing style that will allow you to do this as a company as a whole. So you have one monthly fee that includes all of your, support, maintenance. If you got a custom form that you need to add, just give us a buzz, whatever. We're mostly based out of Cleveland, Ohio, but everybody is an employee of SafetyHQ and Foundation Software as a whole. So you're not talking with a third-party support, what have you. But the nice part is because of that licensing model, you can have as many users in here as you want or as few users as you want. But because of that, maybe I want Joe Field Operator that just started with me to see their own certifications, to see this document section that we'll talk about, and maybe SDSs. You can do that and they won't see the rest of the program, or you can get as granular as saying, I only want foremen to see, the JHAs they've completed. That flexibility allows this information within SafetyHQ to be accessible and to be used by anybody who needs it on the team. Now, the last question I might get on the certifications piece is, well, Eric, this is great, but what if I don't want to use the lessons? What if I have a third-party trainer? Or what if, we're a union and they have a lot of this stuff coming from the hall? Nice piece is we can add this on a one-off basis. So I see this a lot of times. Hey, I came back with my drug screen today. Can you put this into the system foreman? Or maybe I do it myself. You can do this on a one-off, or we can bulk upload this as well. So if you got a whole bunch in here, you can go ahead and put them all in the system at one time. So easily track and maintain certifications, give you the information you need, and make it accessible. Now, I'll make this kind of quick. I know we're kind of coming up to the time here. A few other items to keep in mind with SafetyHQ. We have project-based safety, which will allow you to track, nearest hospital information. This will roll up, corrective actions or items related to the project. We can store documents on the site too. So maybe it's a safe entry plan. Maybe there's some site-specific documents, site-specific safety plans that we want to save on here. Not only can we create them on forms, we can save them in this documents area. And then we can do things like track and maintain equipment here. So, hey, you know what, this is overdue, whatever. You got it all in one place that we can review as needed. I mentioned that documents briefly. We have a wide open document storage area. You can put safety manuals. You can put, new hire documents that they need to review, what have you. This is pretty much, as you need. I've seen this organized in a bunch of different ways for teams. Now, we touched on equipment. We didn't really touch on photos or employees, but in the interest of time, we'll just jump right to the incident report section as the last item here that we'll touch. From an incident reporting perspective, I think we are really unique and we can provide a lot of value, right? Not only do you have the fully customized forms if you want to provide something, but the nice piece is if I want to go ahead and say, incident occurs in the field. This is really basic information. You'll see details, worker involved, not a full incident report, but that's intentional, right? We want this incident report to be filled out by somebody in the field. They're going to complete that incident report, and then an automatic notification is going to go to whomever. Maybe it's your HR, maybe it's a safety team. Maybe you also want the owner to be involved or notified. You can. But the nice piece is once they get that notification, it will then prompt them to fill out all the additional information we need. So this is the classification, the days away from work, the treatment information, incident details. This is all of the stuff that you don't want somebody filling out on the site, necessarily in that instance if you have, like a foreman or a crew leader filling this out. We can produce an incident report directly out of this. based on permissions, we can allow people to go back in and edit this if, this is an open document that we want to work off of. We can sort and filter this by project, by employee involved, type of incident, all of this information. Finally, we have visual reporting as well. So just like the other areas in the software, we can do this by a date range. We can do this by project, by, type of incident, whatever. Review what we need, keep us up to date on maybe root cause analysis and issues that are causing more incidents. Maybe if you got divisions or companies, you can compare across different business units. All the information that you might need right here, accessible again by filters and reviews on the right-hand side. And then the nicest piece is we can go ahead and produce that OSHA 300 directly from the incidents that we've tracked in SafetyHQ. So now, again, a lot of this is using SafetyHQ as an example. I appreciate everyone's time as we use that, but I'll really, I'm hoping you're able to get some ideas on, how you can improve your safety program, whether it be by implementing something like a SafetyHQ, or maybe, updating some policies within your own business, or keeping some things in mind on how you can improve your processes, flows, and stay on top of your safety as a whole too. So I appreciate everyone's time here. I see a couple of questions. I'll try and get to, maybe I'll just do 2 or 3 if I can move this item out here. So some people are asking, is this related to foundation software? That's a great question. This is a foundation software product. However, regardless, if you're using QuickBooks accounting, if you're using Spectrum, if you're using whatever, whatever accounting package, whatever other, project management solutions, whatever, this is, agnostic to all those. We see, SafetyHQ users from all different items. But the nice piece, at least about being a foundation related product, if you're using foundation, there's additional benefits that we can talk about, maybe in a one-on-one. But the nice piece is foundation software is a software company dedicated to construction. So it's not somebody, we're not an organization that's, offering different solutions to different trade. Well, we are different trades, but maybe not different business sectors. It's very different. Construction's its own animal, has its own unique, trends, processes, procedures. So we're focused simply in construction. And we're owning and supporting our own products here too. So SafetyHQ has been around for about 8 years. This is new to foundation. This was previously another company named Harness, who you may have been familiar with. Again, born and bred out of the construction industry. That's been around for a while, and this safety program has gone through the paces. It's seen pretty much anything and everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the nice piece is you're getting a nice product that's been through the paces for 1,000 employee companies and 4 employee companies. So certainly can provide you whatever needs you might have as a business. Can I see a demo? So okay, yeah, that's a great question. If you'd like to see a demo at some time, we'd be happy to share that with you. Please give me a ring at any time. This is my email down here, or you can give us a call at 800-246-0800. We'd be happy to get into the specifics that are related to your company and your business. Even if you're not interested in software and you say, hey, I'd just like to pick your brain for a little bit, and we want to talk about, making some changes. We're not ready to do that yet, and we want to talk about how we can improve the process. Give me a call. We'd be happy to have a chat, and we can talk through some different options for you as well too. So. But other than that, I apologize. There's some more questions. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to the rest of them. We're, coming right up to that 45-minute mark. So I apologize, but thank you all so much for joining here today. Please give us a shout, and hopefully we can connect soon and give you some more information on SafetyHQ. But thanks all. Have a great afternoon. Take care.